Hello and welcome to the Chinksey Sports Presents, the Premier League show, powered by chinkseyMEDIA. We are back again for episode 34. Find us on all digital platforms, most notably Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know how the thing set? You know how the thing goes? We are back to our normal format after Sunday's show, which was a lot shorter than usual. So without any further ado, we go straight into the first game of last weekend, which was the midday kickoff between Crystal Palace and Manchester City. Bow! Okay. It took just 3 minutes for Manchester City's so-called bogey side, Crystal Palace, to take the lead after Jean-Philippe Mateta exploited City's lack of pace and ultra-high line to bury the ball beyond German stopper Stefan Ortega. Yes, he is indeed German and Spanish. It took just 10 minutes for City's talisman Kevin De Bruyne, dropped in midweek against Aston Villa, mind you, to smash home an equaliser with a rasping drive from the left wing. With the scores equal at half-time, it took just 2 minutes for Pep Guardiola's treble winners to take the lead for the first time in the game after Rico Lewis, making a rare start, buried home a Jack Grealish cross in which Joachim Andersen failed to properly clear. Jack Grealish, back fit and raring to go, and back to his devastating best, was running rings around the Palace defenders, creating havoc as his 2 pre-assists for Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne's strikes ended the match as a contest, with City cruising into a 4-1 lead. A late consolation goal from second half substitute Odsonne Edouard ensured the game ended 4-2 to Manchester City. Following that game was one of the first kickoffs of that week, which was 3 o'clock kickoff between Wolverhampton Wanderers and West Ham United. That ended 2-1 to the away side, West Ham. David Moyes' West Ham side handed Wolves their second successive home defeat and their 4th game without a win by snatching victory from the jaws of despair. Wolves took a lead from a Pablo Sarabia penalty after the informed flying fullback Ryan Ait-Nouri was fouled in the box. They then maintained that 1-goal lead for almost 40 minutes before Max Kilman handball gave Lucas Paqueta, who duly obliged, the opportunity to equalise from the spot. With the game now evenly poised and in the balance, with almost half an hour's worth of football to play, set-piece enthusiast James Ward-Prowse scored an unbelievable corner kick which looped beyond Jose Sarr and into the back of the net. Wolves captain Max Kilman, who incidentally is of both Ukrainian and Russian descent and is fluent in Russian, thought he had atoned for his earlier penalty giveaway with a 99th minute equaliser. However, it was later ruled out for offside as West Ham took all 3 points ahead of their Europa League quarterfinal against Bundesliga pace-setters Bayer Leverkusen. The next fixture was between Everton and Burnley in a relegation 6-pointer, if you like. It took a diabolical attempt of a clearance from Arianet Muric, who kicked the ball straight off Dominic Calvert-Lewin's leg to separate both these two sides, struggling towards the bottom of the table. The Toffees put paid to their 13-match winless Premier League run after former goal-shy striker Calvert-Lewin remarkably bagged his 2nd goal in 2 games. When the aforementioned Muric and Calvert-Lewin came face-to-face in a 1-on-1, it was this time the Kosovo internationals who came out on top to redeem himself, if you can call it that, but the damage was already done, especially after Dara O'Shea sending off for a mistimed lunge on former Burnley winger Dwight McNeil meant Burnley had to chase the game with just 10 men. In the end, Sean Dyche's men managed to hold out for a narrow but crucial 1-0 win against his former side. The next fixture was at Villa Park in the game between Aston Villa and Brentford. That ended in a fantastically pulsating 3-3 draw. Aston Villa raced into a 2-goal lead against relegation-threatened Brentford, who had only won once in the last 11 prior to the match, after a fortuitously flicked header from former Brentford man Ollie Watkins put Villa ahead. 1 minute after the break, Morgan Rogers, who's been a mainstay in a Villa side after signing from Middlesbrough in February, scored his first goal for the club with an excellently improvised strike as the Villains cruised into a 2-0 lead this time. Things were looking rosy in the field for the Villa up until the Bees capitalised in a 9-minute capitulation from Unai Emery's side, which saw them concede 3 goals. The first of which was from Matthias Jorgensen, also known as Zanka, who miskicked the ball onto his standing leg as the ball trickled past Emiliano Martinez in the Villa net. The equaliser came from a volley from Cameroon star Brian Mbeumo, making just his third appearance after a lengthy injury layoff with his weaker right foot. Brentford's third goal came from Congolese forward Yohan Wissa, who tapped into an empty net after great play from Sergio Reguilon. Surprisingly, Ivan Toney wasn't involved in any of the 3 Brentford goals in terms of goals or assists and was substituted late in the match. A late Ollie Watkins header for his 18th Premier League goal of the season spared Villa blushes as they escaped with a valuable point, which keeps them in the hunt for Champions League football, with the England striker just now 1 goal behind the league's top scorer, Erling Haaland. Another 3 o'clock kickoff was at Craven Cottage in a game between Fulham and Newcastle United. An informed Europa League chasing Newcastle United side secured their 3rd successive victory against Fulham this season, including their FA Cup 4th round triumph at Craven Cottage after a late goal from Brazilian midfielder Bruno Guimaraes, who bagged the crucial winner on his 100th appearance for the Magpies. Newcastle are now just 2 points off of 6th place Manchester United after picking up their 7th point from a possible 9, 2 wins and a draw. Following that game was at Kenilworth Road in a game between Luton Town and Bournemouth that ended 2-1 to the Hatters. Luton Town grabbed their first win in 10 league attempts as they breathed life into their dwindling survival hopes with a last-minute winner from none other than Carlton Morris. In a match bereft of much quality, it took up until a 52nd minute strike from Marcus Tavernier to break the deadlock. He had early hit the stanchion from a first-half free kick. Luton finally equalised after profuse and persistent pressure, with their midfielder Jordan Clark grabbing his first ever Premier League goal. 17 minutes later, elation engulfed Kenilworth Road as Carlton Morris guided in Corley Woodrow's inviting cross to give Luton a vital win, which saw them draw level with 17th placed Nottingham Forest, with the likes of Everton, Brentford and Crystal Palace all now looking over their shoulders. Right, in the game between Brighton Hove Albion and Arsenal, which was a 5:30 kickoff on Saturday, Arsenal started brightly with Gabriel Magalhaes, Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Jesus all missing chances that they should have scored, as the Gunners shot at the Seagulls at will. However, it took them until the 33rd minute to break the deadlock with a Bukayo Saka penalty after Tariq Lamptey foul on Gabriel Jesus. Just after the hour mark, Arsenal doubled their lead when their 2 former Chelsea players, Jorginho and Kai Havertz, combined as the latter scored his 9th Premier League goal of the season, with Brighton dominating possession and pinning a well-organised, albeit comfortable Arsenal side back. It took up until the 86th minute for former Brighton man Leandro Trossard to put the game beyond reasonable doubt with a breakaway goal to give Arsenal a resounding and comprehensive victory against a side that are seen by many as one of Arsenal's bogey teams. Okay, the first of 3 Sunday kickoffs was in the game between Sheffield United and Chelsea. That ended 2-2. Sheffield United once again showed their propensity to party poop predictions, and I have been a victim of that on more than one occasion. The Premier League's bottom club are playing with the pressure off, and it's become apparent that they won't survive and will inevitably be relegated. Inevitable resignation from the league. The players and staff have clearly come to terms with that fact, and means that they're effectively playing for pride. And since their humiliating 6-0 defeat at home to Arsenal, their only defeat in their last 4 has come at Anfield, or came at Anfield, should I say. And Liverpool were made to work hard for that 3-1 win, mind you. Chelsea took the lead after a scuffed Thiago Silva volley from a Conor Gallagher corner kick found its way beyond Ivo Gribic. The Blades equalised after their impressive number 8, Gustavo Hammer, of Brazilian descent, who'll surely be plying his trade in the Premier League next season, found Jadon Bogle, who from an acute angle beat George Petrovic at his near post. Chelsea regained their advantage when their former PSV Eindhoven winger, Noni Madueke, made the most of a rare start to cut in from the right flank and blast the ball beyond Gribic. Sheffield United, however, with their never say die attitude, grabbed a late and unlikely second equaliser in the game with a 93rd minute strike from Ollie McBurney, who ran off of the blind side of Benoit Badiashile before burying the ball into the back of the net as the game ended 2 apiece. Desmond. Right, the game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday was between Tottenham Hotspur and Nottingham Forest. That ended 3-1 to Spurs. In last week's podcast, I mentioned Timo Werner's signature move of feigning one direction, then shimmying onto his left foot to square the ball across for a teammate. Well, the German did just that, but this time he forced an own goal from Forest Brazilian centre-half Murillo. The one-trick pony Werner was at it again, but this time found Brennan Johnson, who forced the top save from Matt Sells. The trouble is, because Werner has so much pace, even though you know what he's going to do, it's almost impossible to stop because a reacting defender will invariably be slower. On the subject of pace, Forest have that in abundance, especially in forward positions, and they equalised against the run of play on the counter-attack when Anthony Elanga squared for the in-form Chris Wood, who bagged his 12th Premier League goal of the season. A remarkable feat considering that he has not always started for Forest this season, with the likes of Taiwo Awoni and Divock Origi vying for his centre-forward berth. The scores remained level at 1-1 until the 52nd minute before Spurs regained their advantage with a rasping strike from none other than Dutch defender Mickey van der Ven after a blink and it's gone strike rooted Matt Sells to the spot. A further goal from Pedro Porro ensured Ange Postecoglou's Spurs side leapfrogged Aston Villa into 4th position on goal difference, and they also have a game in hand against Chelsea still to play. Manchester United against Liverpool was the last game of the weekend, and that game ended in a 2-2 Desmond. Liverpool began the better of the two sides with Hungary captain Dominik Szoboszlai forcing a tremendous stop from the much maligned Andre Onana early on. However, after their early dominance, Liverpool were rewarded with a goal from Luis Diaz to give them an early lead after pouncing on a poor clearance from a 23rd minute corner kick. Similar to the FA Cup quarter-final match between these two sides, United, the home side on both occasions, went into the break trailing by a goal to 0, with their tails between their legs. However, as the saying goes, football is a game of two halves, and it took an abhorrent mishap from Liverpool duo Quaveen Kelleher and Jarell Quansah to let United off the hook as their captain Bruno Fernandes punished them unceremoniously with a decisively clinical strike from about 35 yards out into an unguarded net. Shambles. Quansah's blind pass towards Virgil van Dijk was bad enough, but for Kelleher to have been off his line too was horrendous decision-making, to say the least. With the title race looking like taking yet another twist, almost 20 minutes later, Manchester United's breakthrough star of the season, 18-year-old Kobbie Mainoo, who isn't 19 until next week Friday, thought he'd scored the winner with a delicious strike with the utmost finesse, reminiscent of his strike against Wolves to put the Red Devils 2-1 up. Fans of Manchester City and Arsenal at this stage were ecstatic, although those same fans would have had hearts in their mouths when Harvey Elliott bought a foul from Aaron Wan-Bissaka for a penalty to be awarded to Liverpool, which Mo Salah slotted away with composure. As the game ended, handed the initiative to Arsenal, who now know that 7 wins will secure their first league title in 20 years. Okay, so that was the last of last weekend's fixtures. So my predictions recap was last week I managed to get 2 correct scores bang on, with Everton beating Burnley 1-0 and Tottenham beating Nottingham Forest 3-1. Check the community tab. But only 4 correct results, which isn't that great. 4 out of 10 isn't the best. With short results such as Luton beating Bournemouth, Brentford drawing at Villa Park 3-3, and Sheffield United holding Chelsea to a draw, scuppering my predictions. So hopefully I can fare better with my predictions this weekend. Right, here's to this weekend's round of fixtures, starting at St James's Park in the match between Newcastle United and Tottenham, kicking off in 13 minutes time. In today's midday kickoff, Spurs will be seeking revenge at the scene of last season's ignominious 6-1 defeat against a Newcastle United side who know a win will see them leapfrog Manchester United into 6th place. The Magpies are unbeaten in 5 home league games, although Spurs, who have lost just once in the last 6 league games, which was to Fulham, did beat them 4-1 last time out in December. No result here, whether it be a Spurs win, Newcastle win or a draw, would surprise me, but I think with the form that Newcastle are currently in and home advantage, I think it makes for a pulsating game, and I think Newcastle will win this one 3-1. Right, at the 3 o'clock fixture between Brentford and Sheffield United. Brentford, despite being winless in 12 matches in all competitions, will come into this game as favourites. The Bees may have drawn their last 3 league games, including that bizarre draw against Manchester United in a game they completely dominated a fortnight ago and almost contrived to lose. Sheffield United, on the other hand, incidentally have already beaten Brentford earlier on in the season, have actually improved the recent, and like I mentioned earlier, have only lost once in the last 4 league games, and that was to Liverpool away. In spite of this, with Ivan Toney due a goal, I'm not only backing him to break his duck, but I'm backing Brentford courtesy of their performance against Manchester United the other day to pick up their first win in months and win 2-0. Okay, the game between Manchester City and Luton Town. Man City have already faced Luton on 2 occasions this season, once in the league and once in the cup, and unsurprisingly won on both occasions. I believe one of them was 6-2 and 2-1. Of their unbeaten run in all competitions, stretching a whopping 26 matches, Luton were the first team that they played in that remarkable run, which is still current, and I expect it to remain. If Luton can win at the Etihad, I have no doubt that will go down as the biggest Premier League shock of all time, considering that Luton have won just once in 12 games in all competitions. To be honest, I don't think there is much point in going into too much depth for this game because Manchester City will win, and quite frankly, it's a question of how many. So I've gone for a 4-1 home win. Right, Midlands derby between Nottingham Forest and Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think this match will be a competitive Midlands derby. That being said, Wolves have lost the last 2 derbies to Aston Villa and Coventry City in the FA Cup. The old black and gold outfit are in the midst of an injury crisis and as a consequence are winless in 4. They perhaps come up against a rejuvenated Forest side at the wrong time. Forest, having improved on their previous woeful form, have just a solitary defeat to Spurs last time out in the last 4, and I think that they'll have enough in them to put Wolves to the sword. My prediction's 3-1 to Nottingham Forest. Not to mention the form of Morgan Gibbs-White and Chris Wood, their link-up play as well. Okay, in the game between Burnley and Brighton Hove Albion, 2 sides struggling for form, you could say. With both sides at risk of their seasons petering out at opposite ends of the table, both teams will want to win to keep the sides around them honest. Burnley are now 6 points adrift of safety with just 6 games remaining, whereas Brighton are 5 points off of 7th with 7 games remaining as they chase a Europa Conference League spot. Roberto De Zerbi's side have struggled for goals of recent, scoring just 4 goals in their last 9 matches in all competitions. On the other hand, Vincent Kompany's Burnley side have lost just once in the last 5 outings, which was last time out to their former manager Sean Dyche's Everton side, as Kompany's more resolute approach has garnered better results of recent, and I think that will continue today with a 1-1 draw. Right, one game I'm looking forward to is the game between Bournemouth and Manchester United. If I'm not wrong, it's a 5:30 kickoff. Bournemouth's good recent form, which has seen them win 4 of their last 6 Premier League games, and the fact that they triumphed 3-0 at Old Trafford in December to clinch a famous first ever away win at the home of the Red Devils, sees them go into the game as favourites with the bookies. And you know what? I think I agree. Unbeknown to many, Manchester United have actually only won 1 in their last 6 games, including none of the last 3 league games. And with that horrid form, I'll be surprised if they beat Bournemouth, to be honest with you. I think there'll be goals aplenty, with Bournemouth coming out on top with a 3-2 home victory. So I think this will be 3-2 to Bournemouth. Right, first of 3 Sunday kickoffs or Sunday matches is at Anfield between Liverpool and Crystal Palace. After Liverpool lost at Anfield on Thursday for the first time in over a year, 14 months to be precise, Jurgen Klopp's side will relish the opportunity to put things right as they take on a Crystal Palace side with just 1 win in their last 9 Premier League matches, and winless in their last 5. Let that sink in. Aside from their 2 heavy home European losses to Atalanta and Real Madrid respectively, Liverpool have actually not lost at home in the league for the best part of 18 months, which was to Leeds in October 22. And I expect that to continue beyond Sunday. In fact, I fully expect Liverpool to win, and to win well, with a 3-1 home win. Okay, the game between West Ham United and Fulham, I've gone for a shock win. But to who? With West Ham's participation in the Europa League hanging by a thread after their 2-0 defeat to Bundesliga champions-elect Bayer Leverkusen, I think Fulham will take full advantage and fully go ham on the hammers. West Ham and David Moyes will probably rest players for Thursday's crunch second leg at the London Stadium, their biggest game of the season, in a game that they must win by 2 clear goals at the very minimum. So they have the task of being the first team. Well, they are tasked with being the first team to beat Bayer Leverkusen all season. Good luck. I can't help but feel that this match will prove to be an unwanted distraction for them, which is why I've plucked for a Fulham 2-0 away win. That would be a coupon buster. But Jared Bowen is unlikely to feature in this game after a recent injury. So I think that influenced my decision for Fulham win mostly, I think. Okay, and the game between Arsenal and Aston Villa involves 2 more teams that are in Europe next week. Similar to West Ham, both these sides have big nights away from home in Europe to contend with next week. Having played on Tuesday evening, Arsenal will have had 2 games extra rest than Villa, who played on Thursday. In addition, Villa will be missing their midfield maestro, Douglas Luiz, who for me is their best footballer. Their hit and miss form has been so erratic that it's threatening to derail their season and undo all of their early season hard work. That being said, they are just 1 game away from a Europa Conference League semi-final berth and potentially 6 games away from qualifying for the Champions League, which would be an unbelievable achievement for Unai Emery's side, who beat his former side Arsenal 1-0 at Villa Park last December. I think Arsenal, who have won their last 5 Premier League home games, will have too much quality for Villa and will win this match 2-1. Right, for Monday night's fixture between Chelsea and Everton. Chelsea take on an Everton side who they have only beaten once in the last 5 meetings in the league. It's an Everton side who are a mere and precarious 2 points above the drop zone and could full well, albeit unlikely, find themselves in it by the time these two sides meet on Monday evening. Both Luton and Nottingham Forest would have to win for this to happen though. Ninth place Chelsea have actually lost just once in the last 11 games in all competitions, and that was to Liverpool in extra time in the Carabao Cup final. Although a lot of those games have been draws, I wouldn't be surprised if this game ended in one, but with Cole Palmer in inspired form and with Chelsea at home, I think that they'll just about edge this one 2-1. So don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe, and we'll be back again